Evening, everybody. Welcome to another show. I'm going to be doing a I don't know that this one's going to be very long. Be share it out here. So this one is from Time Rabbit from about a week ago. Dawkins talking to a guy named Daily Shadow, and like the description mentions, it occurred over on Discord. Who knows what channel? I think it's Darth's. I don't know if Darth has the atheist helpline or the theist helpline or whatever he's got going on over there, but. So yeah, Tom Rabbit's title has the Darth can't stop affirming the consequent. That kind of comes in towards the end. It's kind of a little bit of a spoiler, but not really that big a one for those of us who know him well. Let me take a look at some comments here. See what's going on. I'm waiting for stuff to gonna load up. Michael is here. Hello, Michael. Alex Baptista. Russ Wren. God equals the square root of -1. I need a faster comment thing on there. And JL Warren, Bridge the Divide. Good to see you, man. And let's see. Daniel Cooper is here. Rock Josiah. Michael Fredgren. Wraith Knight. Hey, Downing Thomas. Good to see you. All right, let's see here. So a few more are going to be coming in here a little bit later. Let's see. So if I missed anybody, I'll probably miss more as you guys start to come in. But anyway, let's see what we can do as far as like the rest of this thing goes. I'm going to try to get this set up so I can shrink myself down here. Yep, I knew it was going to do that. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so usual rules apply. Yell at me if this isn't coming in loud and clear. This one, there's not a lot of surprises with this one. It kind of goes. I mean, it's all of Darth's usual stuff. So I'll play this one a lot. I don't know that I'm going to have too much to interject with this one, but you never know. So here we go. Let's see here. Make sure that volume's turned up.
I hope you got this for you.
Nope.
Hey, Tom.
That's because when I enter the room, Darth gets scared and runs away. Sorry about that.
Why would he be scared of you?
Because he can't defend the Christian God is basically his problem, and he gets really triggered when you point that out to him.
Sorry?
He said he can't. He doesn't like it when I'm in the room because I point out the fact that he can't defend the Christian God, and he gets really triggered when you point that out.
How is it the case he can't defend the Christian God? What grounds do you substantiate that claim? Is there no answer? Because we probably don't need.
I love the debate bro lingo already started. On what grounds can you make that claim?
Darth to waste his time. I can probably handle that guy.
At daily.
Oh, Kenya, is it time for a little Tilly there, a little Donnybrook there, bro? Like that. Oh, I'm just gonna make some light work of this guy here. You know, no reason for Darth to line his fists up for this.
Shadows and beta moon.
No, sorry, I'm walking my dog. I had to clean up his shit because I'm not one of those people that leaves their dog shit.
It's admirable of Daily Shadow. I also think it's kind of fitting that I mean, it's probably more enjoyable cleaning up after a dog than talking with these guys.
Laying around.
For those people?
Nice of you.
So what was your question?
Yeah, so on what grounds do you disprove the existence of the Christian God? Or deny the existence of the Christian God?
Oh, which one? Disprove or deny? Because those are very different things. On what grounds do you deny it? I don't accept the claim. I mean, easy enough. I don't accept it empirically. I don't accept it rationally, on some kind of, basis of some kind of persuasive argument. And I don't accept it in a subjective sense in that I don't know him, I've never met him, and I haven't had some kind of transcendental or transformative or otherwise unexplainable emotional, subjective, psychic experience that I would attribute to him. that those would be good grounds to deny it. To disprove it, I don't know why I would need to disprove that. It'd be like, I mean, I hate to be this dismissive about it, but it is really like, I don't know that you've actually, substantiated the claim that you're making about the existence of this God or its necessity. So telling me that I need to disprove it, it sounds like you're getting a little ahead of yourself.
Yeah, are you just asking me like what's foundational to everything? Is that the question?
He's getting there, but
Dude, are you
That's not God?
That's the real question is, dude, are you a retard?
well, that's unpleasant.
Oh, is he
Yeah.
talking? Wait, I think I muted the wrong person.
Yeah, it's the
It's not a good idea. It's a bad look when you call somebody, you use something to insult, any kind of expression to insult their intelligence, and then you kind of like biff something like that. Like, oh wait, if you were expecting a result from him, yeah, you do need to make sure that he's not muted. Genius.
Daily Shadow guy. You gotta unmute that
Oh,
guy.
sorry. I had you muted on accident. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, just by grounds, I'm just guessing that you're just asking what's fundamental to reality, right?
Well, I'm just asking, what is your defeater for the Christian God? Like, God doesn't exist because why?
Again? I've asked this before. I'll keep asking this. What do they care? If these guys are really good clingers for Darth, then they know that one of Darth's favorite quotes is from that was it Kai Anderson? And he wrote that all the arguments for God may fail, but that doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. So, like, how many defeaters are you going to have to present to them? All of the defeaters could be great arguments, and it could still be the case that God isn't real. All of this is, this kind of goes. The Kai's his quote, if I didn't botch it up or get the order wrong, it's more about arguments rather than about the existence of God. You could have all those arguments could be valid, and none of them be true. Or all those arguments could be, you could have arguments for a not God world, and all of them are invalid arguments, just crappy arguments. And it could be the case that the not God world is true. The quality of the arguments doesn't necessarily lead to, proving one way or the other. It's just a support system in terms of like trying to support this idea that, well, I've got some kind of rhetorical or rational sense. I got these good arguments, and some of these arguments may be convincing to others, but it can still be the case, even if you are convinced. The responsible thing to acknowledge would be like, I see this really good argument. Let's say you're a Christian and you're enticed by the notion of the presuppositional apologetic and you like the way that it works. Now, in your mind, it could be something that you really think, on top of being convinced that God's already real. The presuppositional apologetic, you think, gives just a knockdown, solid, defense against any claims that God isn't real or might not be real. But one of the most solid criticisms against that is that precept, no matter how strong you think it is, could be wrong. And the only way that Darth ends up trying to get over that is just by insisting that it must be correct because God necessarily exists. And the way that he knows that, because he knows that God exists. If there's a God, you'd be aware of him. He's aware of him. Therefore, there's a God. Basic affirming the consequent, and we'll see him get there.
Because he's mad because
Well, so here's my argument against the Christian God. There's a few arguments that are compelling to me.
no, not
But
really.
if we're going by the strict definition of the Christian God that Darth believes in, then I would just say, if that God was true, then I would know. Here it goes.
Oh, here
Conversation's over, you guys.
Oh,
we
all
go.
of
Hey,
a
Darth,
sudden,
talking about
Kathy and I come in the room, and now he's a little scaredy back. Go back to
That's cute. Now you're a little scaredy back. This is just kind of fulfilling what Daily Shadow was talking about at the beginning. So, but I don't expect any of these, like, masters of comedy or narrative to understand what happened.
your atheist den of iniquity.
Yeah, see, conversation's over, you guys. Sorry, Darth is just gonna.
You're
The Den of Iniquity are those the channels where a bunch of atheists get around and talk about like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or Star Trek. The atheists start nerding out, or maybe even talk about sports or politics or.
No, well, you don't get muted if you
Please
act like
finish
that.
what you were
Yeah,
saying. Wait, Daily Shadow.
Run
can you
away,
finish your
run away,
comment?
Darth.
Daily Shadow.
Use your
please
mod
finish.
abuse. Mod abuse me. Run
Listen to
away.
me.
That's it.
Hold on,
Listen,
Daily
if you're
Shadow,
going to
finish what you were
taunt me,
saying.
if you're going to taunt me, you'll get banned.
Taunt. Okay. Hey, Hogtie Jam, good to see you. Classic DD conversation hack. Yeah, most of this, I feel bad for anybody that's watched my content or watched content with Darth Dawkins that predates any of my coverage. This is really, really just as tired as Darth Dawkins will start sounding about like some of the stuff he's hearing from Daily Shadow because he's just this is all old stuff. These are cliches. These are all these. This is all tired from the atheist grab bag or whatever. I mean, likewise.
Calm down, everybody.
Okay?
Let's all
The point
I'm not taunting you.
is,
I was
you see-
pointing out that I was having a conversation, and you're just going to end the conversation. So
well, I'm not going to end the
That's it.
conversation, but it's amazing how when I'm not here, all of a sudden you talk.
Well, he was just saying how you're
yeah,
not a
because I know
That's sort of making Daily Shadow's point for him, Darth. That was the point. Like when Darth's not around, Daily Shadow can get a word in. But now he's saying, now that you're here, he's going to be talked over, muted, and eventually removed. I guess. I mean, Darth can't even follow this narrative. It's not surprising to me that he doesn't understand like how to read the Bible, because he doesn't. And I'm going to show you why.
you're just going to end up muting me. So
This is
fine.
this shtick is getting it's really old. Okay, it's really old. Think of some new lines here. Okay, people who
I mean,
conduct
it's
themselves
true.
like you're over
What's about
talking
to
me.
present?
People who conduct themselves like mature, intelligent adults don't get muted. Okay.
I disagree with that, Darth.
Okay. Well, then you are delusional or you are a liar.
Wait, Daily Shadow, can you just
I have
continue?
plenty of
Hey, I will
conversations.
attest.
I have plenty of conversations, even with people who are teenagers. As long as you conduct yourself intelligently, you attempt to be, and you're not deceptive or trolling, then you don't get muted.
Make a point, Daily
Okay,
Shadow.
I'm gonna continue the conversation. So please don't interrupt, Darth. So as I was saying, if we're going
Don't
by
tell
the
me what
Christian
to do.
God,
Don't tell me what to do in my own room.
hey,
Wow. So that was the quickest way to his bad side right there. Don't tell me what to do in my own. Oh, really? Okay. So if the standard is people should not be interrupting people, then maybe if we're in your room, Darth, and those are the standards you said, maybe don't interrupt other people. But I suspect the standard is nobody interrupts Darth. Nobody puts baby in a corner.
you're interrupting. I was asked to just.
Dude, I'm pointing out something. This is my room, not your
Trying
room.
to do suicide by cop right now.
Sorry about that. Trying to figure out why my phone turned on for some strange reason. Let's see here.
Now.
Yeah, suicide by cop. Yeah.
Yeah, Daily Shadow, chill.
I'm just saying. Someone asked me to continue what I was saying.
Yeah. Okay, continue. Don't be a jerk, and you won't get muted or banned.
Okay, so the argument goes that if we accept the definition of the Christian God that Darth puts forward, then it is the case that I would know and believe in that God, right?
This is
Now,
all.
it's the case that I don't believe. It's the case that, all right, Darth, you got to stop interrupting, bro. Is interrupting okay in this room?
Okay, continue.
Daily Shadow is being a little bit spicy here, but I don't think it's bad. But it's weird that Darth is saying like, oh, this is just awful because here's the problem. You're just pulling out all these old cliches. Okay, the oldest cliche that we've gotten from Darth Dawkins is if there is a God, then it reveals itself in a way that you can know him. You know him because of his revelation. Therefore, there's a God. It's a classic fallacy, an affirming the consequent fallacy. It's not good grounds to establish that you know anything about that God. It just that's not a good structure. for anything. Even if you had a valid argument there, somebody could still deny it, and they could still provide rational grounds for it. But given that sloppy thing, it doesn't work. And despite the fact that people will come along and say, like, hey, according to Darth Dawkins, the God that he claims, it's a necessarily existent being that reveals itself also necessarily. That means, just to bore everybody here, it can't not exist, and it can't fail to make itself known to absolutely everybody. That's the necessary thing. Everyone has to know that it's real. And he's basing this on what he thinks Paul's saying in Romans 1 about people denying it in their unrighteousness. So it's not the case that people doubt God or don't know God. They're just denying it. They're la, 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 fingers and ears denying it. And that's a bold claim to make. Plenty of Christians do. This is one of the kind of the classic, like, weird ones where people would get on social media and be like, well, that logic right there would inform them to say, well, there's no such thing as an atheist. There's no such thing as people that don't believe in God because of what Paul says. Well, Paul can be wrong about things.
Continue, but I will blow it out of the water.
That's right. That's right. So, according to the definition that Darth puts forward for the Christian God, it is the case that I would know that God exists. Now,
What?
knowledge is a
The K guy that's chuckling, I don't think he understands what either Daily Shadow or Darth are ever saying.
subset of belief, right? So Darth wants to call me an atheist, which is to say that I don't believe in God, which is also to say that I don't know that God exists, right? So he admits that I don't know that God exists. So his own definition of God defeats the Christian God itself.
I think this is a little bit shaky. I kind of respect where Daily Shadow's trying to go with this, but I think it's a bit shaky. What you can do with this is try to point to, like, hey, look, here's the thing. If you're gonna, like, if Darth defines atheists as people that deny the existence of God. Their claim is that there is no God. So I don't think that that's inconsistent. He believes that. Now, if Darth defined atheists as people who don't know about God, then he'd be being inconsistent, but he's not. So this is weak ground. He's not. He doesn't define atheists that way, because he does. That's why he chases away the whole, like, he'll sweat, tears and sweat, cry, and bleed to try to, like, just badger someone away from an agnostic position, because it's absolutely necessary for them to understand that if you're going to have a conversation with Darth, then the shared definition for an atheist is someone who, quote unquote, denies the existence of God. That holds out the possibility that they deep down know that there is a God. And that's what these guys are usually all about. How would you know? How do you claim you don't know him? You could provide grounds for why you deny him, but what they want to know is how is it the case that you don't know him? And the interesting thing about that is that there's no way that you could ever give them an answer for that would satisfy them, because you know of God conceptually. And as far as I think a lot of these chowderheads are concerned, that might be enough. The fact that you're just kind of raised in a Christian culture, and you just, oh yeah, God, I mean, not even just a Christian culture. I mean, it's predominantly a Christian culture, but also, also chock full of lots of other Christian influences and religious influences from other sources. So the idea of attempting to deny, oh, you know what a God is, you know what I'm talking about, you know what the God is. Don't tell me you don't know. But that's not the kind of know that we're talking about. And I think that they get a little shaky about this. So let's see what happens.
No, this
when
is
he argues with atheists.
How many times do you think I've heard this line of reasoning?
Yeah, nice try.
How many times do you think? No, I'm being totally serious here. How many times do you think I've heard this before?
I don't know. Probably a handful at least.
No, many, many, many times. Okay.
But do you have a rebuttal, though?
This is. Oh, I do. This is at a level of Tom Rabbit's sophism.
Yeah, Tom Rabbit's kind of going after this angle too, but they're not the only ones. Other people have talked about this too. What did Paul do to you for you to slander him thusly? Well, I'll show you. I'm gonna point out that if these Christians, and actually I owe that thanks to Jay here. When I get to the appropriate part, I will unveil that. Jay says Jefferson has, according to Darth, Jefferson has a major hate boner for him. I should point out, yesterday I was in one of the rooms. It was the Fools for Christ Discord channel over on politics and religion, and I thought I was banned from most of those, but it was on. And I went in there, and I didn't jump into chat or anything. I was listening when I was working, but I was, I was in the comments, dropping comments here and there. And at one point, I think it was John Lee or somebody was trying to get him to talk to somebody because Darth is doing the whole Maximus routine. Are you not entertained? Bring me your best. Um, send more paramedics so I can kill them too, or something. Something like that. And somebody mentioned my name, and Darth just automatically disqualified me. I'm like, oh, see, there you go. I never have to worry about being called out or called up to defend because, as far as Darth's concerned, I'm a super troll. I'm too dishonest to talk with. So
That's the level that we're dealing with here. Okay. Now,
Which premise do you disagree with?
okay, sir, I'm going to get to it. Okay?
Darth.
When you claim you don't know God, okay, how do you support that?
how would you support that you don't know something? You don't know it. You're not aware of it. Like, if you're supposed to know God in some kind of revelatory way, and according to Darth, that's supposed to be in an undeniable way, which is weird because this does go against it. He keeps saying, well, God has revealed himself in a way that is undeniable. And yet atheists, according to his definition, keeping it consistent with his words, his terminology, atheists are people that deny the existence of God. Well, if that being can't not exist, he necessarily exists, and he can't not reveal himself to absolutely everyone, everywhere, throughout time. And it's an undeniable kind of revelation. Yet here are these people that are denying the existence of God. That's the contradiction I think Shadow should have pointed out, but he may have just been using some terms a little bit shaky. That's the direct contradiction. It's an undeniable revelation. Well, I can deny it, therefore your God doesn't exist. So now you've got him, because now you can get him on two levels. It's not just like knowing him in some kind of like, you can like, well, do you really know? Well, you can't really know what I know. I guess you can. Darth could always just assume that anyone that claims to not know God is simply lying. Deep down, I know you know, because I know. Like, okay, well, then you're childish. But asking someone, well, how do you know that there isn't a God? Well, that's kind of a different thing. How do I know it in the sense that it's never been revealed to me? Well, because it's an undeniable kind of revelation, and yet I can deny his existence. So clearly that revelation hasn't happened for me. And like Shatterhouse points out, Alex Malpass also raised the same objection against Darth. He has to claim it. He has to claim it's Tom's because he got stomped when he tried to address it with Malpass. Yeah.
Well, presumably that's something you grant because you consider me to be an atheist, don't
Okay,
you?
that is a dodge. How do you support that you don't know God?
Yeah, I don't have a belief
Is your claim
that God is
your,
true.
right, listen to me.
So
Is your
knowledge
claim,
is a subset of belief.
listen carefully. That's fine. It makes no difference. Okay? Because biblically, we hold that you do believe in God, but you suppress the truth and unrighteousness by adopting a figment of your imagination, which will be not rationally justified. Now,
I suppress
when
it.
you tell me, oh, absolutely, I see absolute evidence of this day in and day out, the way atheists lie, gaslight, and deceive. Now,
Yeah, I don't accept that you can suppress your belief.
now hold on a second. I understand that you don't. Now, when you say you don't know / believe that God exists, is that an arbitrary statement or is it rationally grounded?
Okay, so now we're getting into something pretty good here, and this is where I will unveil a potential technique people could use against him. And thank you, Spooky Bet here, for being here. The random scheduling of Jefferson streams is a feature, not a bug. Yeah, I do what I want. So Jay says, I can see Darth sitting in the dark, mumbling to himself about his enemies, thinking he needs to change the oil in the car he stole from his mother. Careful now. Those kinds of comments get you put on the troll list. Okay, so what he said there is not now. I want a rational. What's the rationale for that? Everybody has provided him a rationale for why they don't believe in a God or why they can claim they don't know him. Like I started at the beginning, you could, if you're an empiricist or inclined towards that kind of thing, you could say, well, look, there's no good empirical information or empirical evidence to support the notion that this being actually exists. So that's a rational case to be made for why you don't believe or don't know. The second could be you haven't actually been exposed to any rhetoric or any arguments, no matter how valid they may be, no matter how sophisticated or persuasive they may sound. That you don't think that they don't actually convince you that there really is a God. And Darth would have to admit, per Kai Nielsen, I kept thinking it was Anderson, Kai Nielsen, per that, all of those arguments, right, according to the quote, all those arguments could fail, but God could still be true. Well, most of those arguments or all of those arguments could actually work. All of them could be valid, and it could still be the case that the not God world is true. Just because you've got valid arguments doesn't mean you have veracity. Doesn't mean you actually have the truth. You just have valid arguments. So those, and also you can appeal to the subjective experience. I've never had that subjective experience myself. So that's why I don't think he's real. The interesting thing that Darth's trying to claim here is like, well, here's the thing. It's a necessarily existent being that reveals itself in an undeniable way. Necessarily, and it can't fail because it's got the great making properties. So what's your rationale for that? How can you go and claim that you don't know him? One, you can say, well, you said it was necessary. It's necessarily revealed to me in an undeniable way, and yet here I am denying it. Therefore, not only does your God not exist, it can't exist. Or you could say that your background, your basis for it, is 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 8. Let's see. We'll start with verse 7. Let's see, or 6. Since indeed God considers it just to repay with affliction those who afflict you, and to grant relief to you who are afflicted as well as to us, when the Lord Jesus is revealed from heaven with his mighty angels in flaming fire, inflicting vengeance on those who do not know God and on those who do not obey the gospel or our Lord Jesus. Inflicting vengeance on those who do not know God and on those who do not obey the gospel or our Lord Jesus. So 2 Thessalonians makes a claim that people will have vengeance inflicted upon them with flaming fire by the Lord's angels, people that don't know God. 2 Thessalonians verses 7 through 8. So which one is it? Most Christians think, and hang on, I'm trying to get back to something here. There we go. Playbacks on the fritz. Most Christians believe that 2 Thessalonians was written by the Apostle Paul. It wasn't. It's very likely a fraud. And that would explain why you can have a claim here in 2 Thessalonians that kind of contradicts what's going on in Romans 1. Romans 1, he's talking, everybody knows that there's a God, but you suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Towards whoever wrote 2 Thessalonians is like, no. The angels will come with fiery vengeance and smite the people, not just the people who disobey God, but the people who don't know him. If you're ignorant of God, you're getting punished too. So that lays out the possibility that you could not know the God of the Bible. And in the way that I think Darth is trying to point out, some theological, necessarily revelatory way, in revealed to everyone individually, of course. So you could run with this one. Might be a little risky, but it would be kind of fun to put some of these dogmatic Christians into this position, because then they could always be like, well, Paul's not contradicting himself because 2 Thessalonians wasn't written by Paul. I'd be interested to see if they'd actually take that tag, because I think more biblical scholars are trending that way, that they believe 2 Thessalonians was likely a forgery. I know Bart Ehrman is inclined to think that. So, yeah, there you go. Also, I believe there's a passage in Galatians where Paul talks about not being aware of God's, or not being aware of the Christian God. And Galatians is considered to be written by the Apostle Paul. The critical consensus is that's definitely one of his.
Rationally grounded. Like, could I provide you an argument that it's true that I don't believe?
Give me the rational grounding that it's rational to believe that God doesn't exist.
I'm just reporting to you on my mental state, Darth. I don't know how else to say that.
Okay, so what you're doing again, here we go again, folks. It never fails. He's now going into dodge mode. You are
I
dodging.
just think your question is malformed.
There we go again. That's an old.
I don't know why Daily Shadow's saying that. It's not really a malformed question. I mean, the idea is saying, like, what's your rational basis for saying that you don't know God or don't believe? It's not that complicated. But I think people may be inclined to try to take this route with Darth because I don't think they're, if you try to explain to Darth, like, well, again, Darth, one of your favorite quotes from Kyle Nielsen is that all of these arguments may fail, but God may exist. But it could be the case that that God is true. Or however he likes to put it. But the idea, so like, what rational explainer, what defeater is a person going to give you that's going to convince you otherwise? Probably none. And it's not enough for Darth to hear from somebody if they try to say, like, well, I'm just giving you this is my psychological state, this is my level of conviction. I'm not convinced that this thing is real. I'm aware of the stories, and I've read the Bible, the books of the Bible, to be more accurate. Read them multiple times. Maybe grew up in church. Maybe attended Sunday school from the time you were a kid. You've got some of the stuff like almost instinctual, and you're still not convinced that it's real. So the interesting thing to ask somebody like Darth is, let's say that you're not inclined to be hard-headed like some of the quote-unquote scumbag atheists that he's talking to. That what you're actually doing is you're earnestly seeking. Like, here's the thing, I'm actually kind of curious. How do I get to where you are, Darth? Because you're like the Dalton of from Roadhouse of conservative evangelical Christianity. How do I get to be as cool about my faith as you are? And just kick ass and take names, and then be like, well, you just does he have a way around that? Like, I'm inclined to think, like, I'm not convinced that this God is real. I've heard the arguments, I've read the books, and I want it to be the case. I really do. I want it to be the case that the God of the Christian Bible is true, and that Jesus is real, and that he died for me, and blah, 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 blah. I want all of it to be real. But I can't get there. What do I do? And I'm really concerned because somebody like Darth shows up there and reminds people, well, until you drop to your knees and beg, if your heart stops, you're going to hell. First, you meet Jesus standing, at the pearly gates or whatever, like Dalton, probably wearing, nut hugger jeans and a gi tucked in. Weird, but it was a look. And we're like, no can do. And then he kicks you out of there. No bootnick's going to get you past that bouncer. Sorry, too many Roadhouse references. Anyway, these guys don't have this. They don't have it. Darth doesn't have it in him. So what he'll probably end up doing is just like, well, what you need to do is just hit this point of desperation, and then you'll realize that God is the only way. Will you? I'm not convinced that Darth is convinced this is real. I think that if Darth ever reached this point in his life, and I'm not sure that he ever did, the point, the bottom, hitting the bottom kind of moment where you drop to your knees and I'm a scumbag, God, you need to forgive my sins, please. Does he believe that he did that? Or does he just kind of hang on to it theoretically, like, this is the kind of badass God that we're dealing with, and unless you're prepared to just, be willing to serve it, and be completely obedient to it, you're going to get it. He's going to enact his revenge against you. I don't think that just holding that concept in your head is the same as believing it, feeling it, soup to nuts, so to speak. I just get the impression that for Dawkins, this is just mental masturbation.
school tactic. It's not a malformed question. And now you are engaging in deceit. Okay?
Well, Darth, if I
No, he's not. That's just stupid. I think Daily Shadow was slightly off base in saying that it's a malformed question. Mostly because I don't understand why he brought it up. If he had more time to explain why he brought it up, that way I'd be interested to know. But I'm not really going to say that I think this is a problem for Daily Shadow at this point, because he didn't really give a chance to actually extrapolate on any responses that he gives. But Darth takes that opportunity to strawman the shit out of everything that he says, even if he only squeaks out a couple of words. So now to just run with the assumption that, oh, okay, you've told me this, and it's not enough that Daily Shadow is wrong. What Darth needs to tell other people is that Daily Shadow is lying to him. And I don't, that's a level of weird insecurity that I don't think Darth is capable of recognizing in himself. It should be enough for him when he's having these discussions to just point out, like, hey, Daily Shadow, I think you're wrong here. But he can't do that. He has to take it a step further, too far, and impugn something about the person's motives. No, you're lying to me. You're out to get me. You're doing this to besmirch my. You're trolling me. Whatever.
ask you,
Nothing. Do
what
not
color is
interrupt
your
me
thought
while
right
I'm
now?
speaking. Listen to
Why
me.
am I here? What the
Okay,
fuck?
Listen,
If you don't want me to refute what you're saying, then just mute me.
No, I'm okay. Just because I momentarily pause, you should wait a second or two to see if I'm going to continue. Okay? Because I'm not going to talk machine gun fashion. Now,
Okay,
what
fair
you
enough.
just said, your last statement was deceit. Okay? Now, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. Okay? How do you
Phrase what?
what is the rational basis upon which you can support that you rationally believe or don't know God exists? Can you?
Jesus Christ! I mean, how many words did he need to repeat to ask the question? Like, what's your rationale for claiming that God's not real? You don't believe in him. Easy. I'm an empiricist and I need proof. I need measurements. And I don't get good evidence empirically that this thing's actually real. I haven't seen good arguments. He's never popped up. He's never shown up in my bedroom and told me to drop to my knees in prayer and beg for forgiveness because I'm such a piece of shit. I never had that experience either. Nothing subjective, nothing emotional, nothing psychic, nothing transcendental, nothing empirical, nothing rhetorical or rational in the sense that we're going to break this down, we're going to lay it out like algebra. None of these things have happened. So, and what I do know is that there are really good arguments empirically for why that thing probably isn't real, given given what they're talking about, and good arguments to claim that he's also not real. Also because those concepts and the claims they make about this God, the properties that it has, are catastrophic. Skylar says, "I can tell you the story." LOL. What story do you mean? Let's see. I'm a little behind on the. Let's see. It's not insecurity. It's deliberately dishonest tactics. The whole of apologetics is deliberate dishonesty. I don't think that that's true. I don't actually agree with that. Because there's too many people that I think really do believe this stuff. It's not I mean, it can be desperate, but I don't think it's deliberately dishonest. I think they're just clinging to it. There are some, though, that I would agree with, that should know better, that do use this kind of stuff. And if you're talking about people like, say, who have these kinds of conversations or make a profession out of this, so it's like Turek or William Lane Craig, I think you can make a case that they're deliberately dishonest about it. Absolutely. But I think if you get down into the layperson level, where they're just sort of like watching the Turek videos, listening to William Lane Craig, I honestly think a lot of them are just kind of being taken in by it. Let's see here. Any chance I can hang with you and review? Yeah, if you want to get in on this, I've only got about the last third or so to watch. Let me shoot you a link here. Pretty sure Skylar is still over on Twitter. Excuse me. X now. Yep, Skylar Fix 2.0. All right, I'm going to DM this over to your Twitter account there, Skylar. So it should be there. Now, there is the join link. Whenever you want to come in. All right. Shatterhouse says, I think Jimmy Stevens is pretty honest. I don't know who Jimmy Stevens is. That's a new name for me. Is that you can believe it and still make dishonest arguments supporting it. No, I agree with that too, definitely. But I don't think that a lot of people that hear some of these apologetics are always that sophisticated in knowing what it is that what they'd be employing. They hear it. There's enough confirmation going on. They're kind of excited to hear it, and then they just kind of run with it. They might find out later on that it seems kind of dishonest, and somebody can point out like, "Hey, you know what? That's based on fallacies, or it's based on whatever." At that point, yeah, then they need to kind of take responsibility for that. But let me see here. Hey, Skylar, how's it going? Doing pretty good. Yeah, I can hear you. I think. Oh no, that's fine. I wasn't sure if it was like it wasn't loading an avatar either, so I wasn't sure if it was.
To StreamYard, and it's everything opposite. Like everything's on the left opposed to the right when I'm looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's taken me a while to get used to as well. I mean, I like some of this. I do not understand it. Now you're live now, but yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about this because I joined one of Maya's streams about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, and when she brought me in, I couldn't. I don't think it would let me edit the avatar like StreamYard will. I think I have to like plug it in or something like that. It's weird. So
Is this one free? Can you use it for free, or do you have to pay for this one?
you can use it for free. If you use it for free, you get this big annoying EV Mux animated thing going on in the upper right corner, kind of like the duck symbol in StreamYard.
Ah,
But it's animated and it's kind of distracting. So this one I pay for it. I pay the same that I would pay for StreamYard, but the advantage is this broadcasts in 1080p with better sound, and it has a lot. It has a lot more features in it for like automating stuff that I have not gotten into yet.
I
need
got
to.
you.
So yeah, eventually, like my intros and outros will be built into this particular suite, and then once they're built in, like I have one for Darth Dawkins content, I'll have other ones built out as presets for other types of content, and it'll have different graphics, different videos, clips, sounds, all that kind of stuff. So you can kind of get those kind of built up in advance, and then that way you're not kind of editing on the fly. So it's pretty cool.
Ah, that's really cool.
Yep.
I was going to tell you earlier. So you probably have heard Darth keep mentioning this malformed question thing that he keeps bringing up.
Yeah.
It's because he's triggered from something that happened like 2 weeks ago with me, where he asked me if how I know everything isn't a daydream or something like that.
Yeah, his figment of the imagination thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was like, dude, first of all, you kind of you're assuming in your question that it could be all a figment of my imagination. Which I was like, dude, you're kind of malforming this question because you're begging the question. You're assuming a premise within the thing you're trying to assume in a sense. And so he has been like unreasonably upset about this, like over and over. Like he keeps like wanting to talk to me about it. Like it's so bizarre. I've never seen him so worked up over this. Like I think it really hurt him for some reason. Like it got to him. But also, I was kind of talking to Dr. Josh the other night. Now I was a little high when this was happening. And I was like, I was explaining that I think that he may have like he likes the worst parts of me. And I don't know how to feel about that. Right? I think like in a sense, like he appreciates me as much shit as he talks about me, and I'm his number 2 troll or whatever I am on his list. Right? But at some level, I think he likes me, but in a way that I don't know if I should feel proud that he likes me. And it's causing me a moment to reflect and be like, I need to make sure. It's like the Force, right? Like I'm Luke Skywalker. he's like, unfortunately, my father, right? And it's so easy to want to go towards the dark force, right? To just be mean like him and obliterate opponents when you're debating them, right? But like, I usually need to use the force. I got to be on the light, right? I got to be on the good side.
I don't know if this is going to cause you any comfort or consternation, but I think that he can only see the bad qualities in you and me. So
That's true.
maybe he can identify more bad qualities in you, and that's why he's like, I know Skylar. He's a known quantity. I'm going to get him. Like,
I think it's like he likes when I do the things I shouldn't do in debates, right? Like every time that I'm getting over emotional, or I'm getting mad, or I'm just like, just cutting someone off, like I've done to you or something. like, you know what I'm saying? Like I know that I'm not supposed to do that, right? And you even like someone like personally, like like me and you, we weren't even really at each other's throats or anything. We were just disagreeing, and I would say that I was being a little uncharitable to you at times, right? But like immediately afterwards, I'm like, I kind of feel like a dick. Like the way I debated this dude.
well,
And I go back to you and I apologize. I'm like, hey man, I'm sorry if that's what I did.
I think it's weird though, because he's obviously he likes to pretend that he's not emotional about this stuff, but that's all he is. This is lots and lots of feels, and he tries to like mask that with this whole facts don't care about your feelings. This God's real, blah blah blah. But then as soon as he's got to like make up stories about how well, that atheist was coming right at me, I had to fire. His claims are always just so so hysterical. And here's the thing. He will still talk to you for extended periods of time. I'm not like me, my brother, and others that he's talked with in the past. We're not even alive. Like he's bored. Like, nope, no, not going to talk. I don't need to. But he'll still like. So I think it is. I think part of it is the fact that you. I don't want to say this in a way that's going to be disrespectful.
No. Go ahead.
I think he can use you because you will color outside the lines. You're not going to go in there and pretend to be,
100%.
Eventually, it's at the tip of your tongue. You're going to tell him to eat a bag of dicks, and he knows it. You know it. The crowd knows it, and he digs that tension. He loves that. He thinks he's Roy Scheider in the boat with the rifle with one bullet and your jaws. That's what he thinks is playing out. That's the scene that he thinks is happening, and. So he'll he'll grant you time. Like he's just waiting for you to do that, and then he can always be like, see what Skylar did. See, Skylar got emotional. Like,
so true.
Like Darth is purple behind, in front of his laptop, but because he's not on camera, no one can see, how apoplectic he is. Like he's on the verge of a stroke. But if he can keep his voice kind of measured throughout the whole thing, as soon as you're like, oh, get the fuck out of here, Darth, eat a bag of dicks, he'll just declare victory, like you guys are on a formal stage. Like, it's the weirdest, like, it's like, dude, fap about that someplace else. You are not William Lane Craig. This is not a formal debate. You guys are talking in a Discord basement, for Christ's sake.
And my time is limited. Like, I'm going to get like 30 seconds, maybe a minute and a half of total talking in this engagement. And I've got to be strategic about what I say. I say. Like, it's got to burst out, get that sentence out before somebody jumps in or he tries. Like, it's like, get it out. Well, I've learned things to do that aren't direct attacks that can keep me in the room a little longer. Right. So, like when he starts calling me like a fat lard or starts doing like just generic name calling towards me, I just say something like, well, my children still love me. Right? I didn't say that your children don't love you or that you don't have a relationship with your children, but as soon as I never said it was his children, and he literally started talking, he's like, well, all these rumors about me and my children. And I'm like, someone's guilty conscience.
Someone's telling on themselves again. Yeah, you just let them know, well, you know what? I'm not driving my mom's car.
Yeah.
Now that would be more direct, it's like.
And it's hard. And my problem is like I've got to weigh things out sometimes. Like I weigh them. I'm like, okay, what am I going for here? Is this going to be a cheap's laugh moment I want to try to pull? Do I want to get something out? I know when there's going to be no conversation. If there's ever going to be a debate of some form, it's on whatever topic he's choosing.
Right.
I got to figure out, like, is this a topic I feel comfortable I can just go back into. But oh man, I also think though recently because I'm streaming everything on from Discord over to my channel now, I've noticed a correlation for wherever I'm streaming and Darth showing up, and that's happening quite a bit because I don't go honestly there's Darth's been covered. We're covering Darth now. There's nothing against it. Whatever people want to do, right? But it's like at one point I was like I don't want to cover Darth anymore, right? So I would even try to target rooms where he's not showing up.
Right.
And then he would just show up. And then I'm like, well, now it's going to get interesting. Now I'm in the room. But I do love, for some reason, they can't mod like they used to. So they can't permanently mute me in these rooms. It's only like temporary to a certain degree. At least that's what
Really?
I found. Yeah, or maybe someone's told them like, don't do that. To Scott, I don't know. I don't know what to do, but I'm not getting permanently muted anymore. He doesn't have the power to do it. Like, what's his name? That idiot dude that I'm always in the room with. Not Fox.
Foxy. Yeah, he's an idiot.
Him and his little face character. I call them Disney mouses. That's what they sound like to me when I listen to them. Like I feel like when I listen to that duo, they're about to go on some kind of mouse adventure in a Disney movie, like full of bad ideas. I don't know. Maybe it's just terrible accents in them, but they sound like Disney characters to me. I mean, that's just a personal attack, but it is what it is. I'm sorry. It's nothing to do with their arguments, but like when I hear them, that's all I can do is think about them being. But anyways, they're the same way as Darth. Like he'll unmute me when I stay in the room once Darth. Like in fact, he hasn't been generally muting me as soon as Darth comes in the room like they used to do. Now, so it always gives me an opportunity to at least say one thing before I'm muted for a little while.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sorry, monologue there. But anyway.
No, that's what my entire show's about is me monologuing. So. All right, let's jump into the video here and see. I can't remember where we're at, but it's more him. Oh no, I remember. So he's asking again. He wants a rational basis for why you deny knowing God or don't believe in him or something.
What's your ultimatum?
You please give that. And by the way, that's not a malformed question. Now,
it's not the problem that Darth has is that he's built up a reputation that when people give him a legitimate rationale, he just rejects it and then tries to say that they're not answering the question. It's like, yeah. So it's weird. He's very sensitive about like this isn't a malformed question. Yeah, but I have a feeling that any response I give, you're going to accuse me of a malformed answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's been his trade.
Well, do you want to admit that you were being deceitful there? It's not a malformed question.
I believe it is, and I can explain why.
Okay, then you're stupid.
Wow.
Well, all right. I disagree with that too.
Okay. Yeah, well, if I say, what is the rational defense?
I mean, if Daily Shadow's going to go with the whole thing, like, look, you're trying to say, what is my defense for for proving this thing that is not substantiated as being unsubstantiated? Like, you're sort of assuming that this thing has been established, and then I need to provide some kind of, I have to provide proof for why it's not the case. It hasn't been shown to be the case to begin with. If you're just asking me, like, what are your reasons for not being convinced? Those are the things that I was just talking about before. Like, I'm not inclined to be convinced by the stories. I've heard arguments for God that don't do it for me. I've never seen God personally, never shook his hand, and I haven't seen any science that shows that he might be real. All those things are good reasons for saying why somebody's psychological position, like, that's why I don't believe there's an actual God. So this part where he's just trying to like, no, here's the problem. Like, no, the problem is you begging the question again. And his is so much worse now because, well, I'll play it because he wraps things up with that.
Can I say something too? Like, and I haven't listened to this person engaging with Darth too long, but I've listened to a lot of these different people engaging. Why is every one of these people that argue with Darth so passive about stuff? Like they like he just called you stupid. All right, listen, yeah, you could be the bigger man if you want, in a sense, and be like, okay, you now just called me stupid. I'm going to disengage and leave the conversation, right? But why continue to still talk to him unless you're going to just talk shit back? In my opinion,
this is why, exactly. This is why I really respected the hell out of like Dr. Josh. He was on
Yep.
I can't remember. It was one of the last times he talked with him, and I can't remember what show it was on. And they brought him on, and he didn't even say anything obviously offensive, but there was a tone and an attitude, and it, Josh just basically like, yeah, I'm not going to talk to you like this. You're not going to.
Yes,
I'm not
exactly.
going to talk to somebody who's got this kind of attitude like. And the weird thing is, these guys will always end up like, well, what did I say? What did I say? Like, do you know what debate bro energy is, man? Like, have you ever had a conversation? Like, let's take the conversation and just like break it down into into a transcript. Like, that's not how human communication works. And if you spent more time talking to real people and not NPCs, you'd know that. Like, the way you communicate with your body, the inflection of your voice, everything. Like, there's so much more going on in communication that these guys just discount, because it's like, no, it's just words. It's just give me the zeros and ones. Just give me the raw data, and I will crunch through it, and then I will declare you stupid when I realize that that doesn't add up. It's like, that is not how human interaction works. You psychopath.
Well, and it's so like, it's like the least effective form of like connecting and convincing people of ideas. Like, one of the things I learned, at least in business, was like, dude, you like in sales, like you connect with your customer, right?
Exactly.
You get them, like your goal wouldn't be to alienate them, right? In
Right.
order to get them to buy something. And in a sense, like, you're just getting them to buy your idea, right? Or trying to get them to come closer to whatever your goal is. And it's like, when you're just rude and mean to them, you've got to at least I recognize what it is. It's just sport. When you recognize
Yeah.
it too, this is sport debate, which is
Yeah.
fine on some level, but everyone, you got to just recognize that's what it is. Like, I play sport debate sometimes. I try to be better not and do it, but there is this thing called sport debate, and if you're gonna participate, you got to play by the rules of the game.
Yeah.
Don't hate the player, hate the game, man.
All right, here we go.
And that your belief that God does not exist is rational. That's not a malformed question under any circumstances.
Well, I just want to point out the fact that
What's
believing-
malformed about the question?
Did he give up on the first question? You wanted the rationale. Now I want to know why you think it's malformed. And this guy's trying to explain, and
Nope,
it's malformed because it's irrelevant to the issue. Because
okay, you're done.
It's the
you're
case,
done. Hey, listen, no,
you're
we're
just
done. Now you're lying
you're just
again.
not allowing me to finish, Darth. This is what I said. Just mute me if you don't want to hear me talk.
This is what you're doing. This is what you this is what you people do. Now you're getting into.
And this is what you do. You don't allow people to talk.
Okay, good. No, listen to. I am letting you talk, but you keep on
I got
lying
about 3
through
words
your
in it, Darth.
teeth. No, you're lying through your teeth, and now you're in bickering mode, which is what you.
Lying through your teeth. He has, and this is interesting. Like, so he's going to tell Daily Shadow, I want you to substantiate. Like, you need to provide me your rationale for why you think God's not real. I'm going to call you a liar to your face, and not do a thing to substantiate it. The only thing Darth is counting on here is that he's got flying monkeys in the room that are willing to back up when Darth calls somebody a liar. That's it. They don't need any kind of justification, because they're going to start crowing like, suicide by cop, and all this kind of crap, death by cop. Like, because they're just, clinging onto every word. Like, when will it be my turn to take over as Darth Dawkins 2.0?
You know what? Yeah, I do now with these bastards, like someone like Fox and them. Like, as soon as I just literally prep them. I'm like, hey, listen, Fox, get ready to mute me, man, because Darth's in the room. I was like, okay, Darth, just tell him when to mute me. Whenever it's good, you just let him know. And then when Darth starts telling him to mute him, I'm like, bro, listen to your master, dude. Listen to your master, right? Listen to what your boss is saying. He's telling you to mute me.
You better heal, bud.
Yeah.
You
man.
want that treat.
Oh my God. I'm like, and I tell them, like, you guys don't understand. You guys have you know what it is, dude? They have a false perception of reality and how they are appearing to others, right? Because I think it's like that, it's like that bubble thing. When you're inside a bubble, right? And everyone agrees with your views, and you all like look for any sort of dissent at all that may differ, and you instantly become toxic to them. Yeah, you've created a bubble that's going to lead you to all kinds of BS.
Yeah, and I think it's for some of these guys too. The ones that I think would be even more worrying are the ones that are so terminally online that they literally just turn the stuff on and turn it off. Like they go in here, this kind of like
Yeah.
craziness happens, and then when they're done, it's like internet goes off and they move on to something else, and they just the shutter comes down and that's it. That's it. It's water off a duck's back for them. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so you're going into it like if you're hanging around somebody like Darth Dawkins, like you can tell by the tone of his voice. Maybe there's something. Maybe the problem is me. Maybe I've been around too many like emotionally volatile people where I hear this guy talk and I hear that catch in his voice, and it immediately like I'm like, this dude's an asshole, right? This
Yeah.
dude makes everything personal, and he's a psycho. He makes it personal in weird fucking ways. Like we're dealing with like a Patrick Bateman type here. And these guys will just like hang around and talk. And I don't know if it's because they're young or because they're online and they just know like, hey, this is the Matrix, and in here nothing matters. And I can be, you know what I mean? Like I can be an ironic Nazi or a piece of shit or whatever. You don't have to believe any of these people in there. I mean, they could only like 20% believe this, but because they do understand that Darth Dawkins is obnoxious sounding and he gets people worked up, they can kind of cling to him just for the drama thing, and they can wait and sort of pick up on this stuff. So they're just like parasites waiting to see, a traffic accident happen. So it's really, in a lot
Could
of ways,
be.
they're no different than us. They're just on the other side of the tracks watching the same train wreck.
Well, I think part of it too is like you were talking about like, I think Jefferson, you got to think it this way, right? First of all, I think you're more intellectual and thoughtful, and you're a very good communicator, right? Above what I would say just typical average Discord user. Let's put it like that. Let's not even say average human. Let's just say Discord user, which I'm sure you fare well with just average human too,
Well,
right?
I can't possibly let that go to my head. Thanks.
No, no. Well, the reason I say this is right.
I know.
In the sense of Darth Dawkins, right? We both know that you can be well spoken and say absolutely nothing, right?
Yes.
And guys like Darth Dawkins know how to say a lot without saying nothing. And
Yep.
I learned the art of it actually at Apple, funny enough, back in the day, because I learned like how to present big ideas, like, and just make it sound really like it connects to a person.
Yeah.
Right. It's sad, and it's unfortunately people aren't able to, because it is something you have to learn to recognize. But it's very easy if you want to manipulate someone who isn't able to understand how you're manipulating them. And if you've got intelligence and they've got a weak mind, and they look at you as like an authority figure, they look up to you, like, because they have this view that the language you're using is the only way he could be talking like that is if obviously he had the intelligence of this. But oftentimes, I'm sorry for rambling, but this is something like you've probably seen me do this, Jefferson. When I often go into people and I ask them to clarify their terms, especially like these high level Christians that just use more philosophical terms. But when you really just get to the root of what they're saying, it's nothing complicated, right?
Yeah.
They're just using words in a way that are less familiar to like a typical mind that doesn't use these words. So it's a form of manipulation. And when you get good at it, you're good at recognizing it when people are saying things that really don't are meaningless.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Go ahead.
and I agree with you there, because normally what you'll see is if the person is a decent communicator, they'll start off. Let's say they're talking with an atheist, and the atheist knows enough about the Bible to not be convinced, and maybe they're kind of like even an anti-theist, like they're a little, they think it's weird, or they think the Bible's stupid or something like that. So they're coming at him from this perspective, and then they're engaging in a conversation. And let's say that the skeptic is getting like a leg up on some, asking some tough questions, like, well, wait a minute, why did Yahweh show up at that inn to kill Moses after he told Moses to go free his people? What's that about? Or why did that girl have to get sacrificed to Yahweh just because that guy made kind of a rash promise about it? And they don't have an answer for it. And then what you'll see from the apologist is they were having kind of a one-to-one conversation using the same language. All of a sudden, the apologist ticks up into tier 2, and you start hearing them use apologist speak. And that's when you start seeing, you'll hear the theological terms start to drop, and the person will ask for clarification on that. Oh, you don't know about that. You have never heard of pneumatology. Do you know what harmatology is? I'm sorry. I thought you did. And it's like as soon as they do that, then you're dealing with a class A, just a triple A scumbag at that point, because that's like,
so right.
That person is using jargon specifically to abuse that person, because that person is asking questions that they want to avoid. So they use that to passive aggressively make it about the skeptic's lack of knowledge on a subject rather than dealing with the issues they raised.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you're so right. No, yeah, exactly. It's even Darth's whole argument here can be summed up in is tell me if you believe in God or not, and if you don't believe in God, then you don't have something ultimate that necessitates reality functioning in a manner that is consistent and in a way that we can have facts and understand facts and intelligibility because of
Right.
consistency. That's it. That's all he's saying. He's like, tell me how you account for consistency in the world.
Or you could
Yeah.
just simply say, like, if you're say that you're inclined, like somebody like you, like maybe
Yeah.
like a deist or a pantheist, you'd
Yeah.
just be like, I haven't heard anything described about this God that would make me think it's indistinguishable from just the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not inclined to believe this narrative about one that's been anthropomorphized. Excuse me. You've got a story about a guy who showed up in the world as his kid / himself and died for our sins. Like, cool. I don't know that any of that stuff's necessary as far as like trying to get into the stuff that Darth's talking about. Like, well, why is there something rather than nothing? I don't know. If you're just appealing to some kind of like something that always was, I don't know that the universe wasn't always a thing
Yeah.
in some form or another. And then he'll just try to say like, oh yeah, well, what about the Big Bang? I didn't say anything about the Big Bang. I said the universe. The universe could have existed in some other form that we're not really aware of. And then he'll probably, if push comes to shove, be like, well, how is that not a figment of your imagination? It's like, well,
Exactly.
how did you figure your way out of solipsism other than claiming God is a solipsist and you're the figment of his imagination, Darth?
I
Like
always
that's
like what they do with me is they'll be like, well, how do you know that? Like, how did your God communicate it to you? And I'm like, bro, are we really going to have a debate over epistemology? You're going to be able to show me how your God delivers some information to you?
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like at this
Exactly.
point, if we move, it's literally at that point, what they do with me is move the goalpost, right? Because then I've given an accounting of what they wanted. It's the same accounting they're given, but just a little different, right? And then then they're like, well, wait a minute, tell us how you know that. And I'm like, well, they're not going to do it either. And then they get mad, and that's usually when I get muted. So
Exactly. Yep.
that's about it.
All right, here we go.
Can I explain why your question?
If you overtalk me again while
Okay,
I am
only
speaking,
you
I
overtalk
will
me.
ban you. Okay.
Dude,
Okay. No, we're done. You're done. You
Yeah.
want to be an
You want to
argumentative
fucking
little
be a little bitch that
goodbye.
doesn't allow me to talk.
fool.
You just want to be a little mod abuser.
No, you're a fool, dude. Suicide by cop, dude.
Night
Wow.
little.
Oh,
Suicide
he
by
cut me off.
Yeah, these guys are so proud that they get to like. Who made Darth Dawkins the cop?
Well, they used to call it suicide by mod, but I guess this is the new version of it, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think it's just a way to stoke Darth's ego further because maybe these guys know that he gets off on watching like the taser videos and stuff, watching cops taser people.
You're so right.
I remember when who was it? Tom brought that up. He was being interviewed by JL Warren on Bridge the Divide, and Tom brought that thing up. And I don't know if JL found it and asked him about it, or if Tom kind of volunteered it. He's like, no, he's a punitive guy. He likes punishment. That's sort of central to like the way he talks about God. And he's one of these guys that, and he wasn't exaggerating. He's like, he watches like the cop content, like cop videos and stuff on YouTube, where the encounter inevitably leads to them have to get violent with the suspect where they tase them and stuff, and and I don't remember how Tom said he knows about that. It doesn't surprise me at all. I'm like, oh yeah, that's
He reminds me, and you'll know this person, but he's got a lot of things in similar with Matt Bell. Remember Matt Bell? Yeah.
Well, but Matt Bell kind of had that, like, these certain people need to be punished, and then Interpol went and punished him, which was really fitting. For those of you who
such
don't
a messed up story.
It was, but yeah, he was a perfect example of that. That was his go-to. Like everybody was some kind of like offender. Somebody was abusing kids. That was his like go-to. Like you're a
that
PDF,
was his analogies he would use. He would use these like weird hypotheticals about abusing children, and wow.
Yeah, and then you end up finding out like, okay, you're remotely managing a crazy, PDF dungeon in the Philippines.
I
And
think
you,
they had to make a new law for Scotland because of this. Like,
yeah,
this was the first time it had happened in the country.
yeah.
So
I
wild.
felt bad for because I don't think I ever talked to him. It was before my time, but
Yeah.
it was interesting, like talking with guys like you, Ozymandias, Simus Funk, Christopher Mouty. They're all just like, oh yeah, yeah, we remember talking to Matt Bell. I'm like, what did you guys think? How did you feel when he got? They're like dirty, but that's the way you always felt when you talked to Matt Bell, so it wasn't too different.
Oh man, dude.
So,
Let me tell you this, dude. I used to on Google Plus days. I actually when I was first on Google Plus, I was just like a deist before I kind of was doing my channel, and like a more of a traditional deist. And I just used to hang with a couple Christians. You'll know them, like Nate, the guy who does that Ask a Christian channel. Roy, there was another person, but Matt Bell would come and hang in the rooms quite a bit. And there was like three other Christians, some of the Christians in the room, and I would tell them, I'm like, guys, I am telling you, I am warning you that is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I told that shit to Matt's face. And I was like, dude, you are a wolf in sheep's clothing. And the irony is, he knew it was true when I said it to him. That's the irony of that. Like,
yeah,
I think about it now and I'm like, bro, I warned every one of them over and over. I was like, guys, do not trust him. You can tell that, like, this is one of the things, what cracks me up, Jefferson, especially watching all these worshipers of Darth, is like they don't pay attention to anything Jesus warned them about. Right?
right, yeah,
Like the whole point of bearing good fruit, guys. Like, think about that metaphor and what Jesus is telling you. Like, you can see what people bear, right? You see the fruits of these people, and it's like you still like trust them,
yeah.
right? It tells you about the people that will come in Jesus' name, but he'll know that, he'll turn them away and say, I knew nothing of you. Like, what about someone like, whether it be Matt Bell or Darth Dawkins? Is it all Christ-like? Nothing.
Well, and what happened to some of the other people that might still be around that were like, okay, hey, we had Matt Bell on here who was a vigorous defender of Christ and all this kind of stuff, and then you find out this, oh well, he was never really a Christian. Like,
No.
really? Okay. So I'm not going to bother to point out the no true Scotsman thing here. But that seems to be like, oh no, he was just playing around to like, look, to do what? To get in good with you guys? Like, I guess for them, they'll just try to say like, oh, it was just a cover. Like, no, I'm pretty sure that you can be a devout believer in this faith tradition, but also be, have these kinds of sick criminal predilections. And, they always try to say, like, for a lot of Christians, especially the evangelical types, like, that goes against their theology, like that person believes, and yet I don't see any evidence that the Holy Spirit is regenerating that person in a way to avoid running
Yeah.
a crazy underground online, sex crime dungeon available for, worldwide. So yeah, that's creepy. Yeah. What a loon.
Can you imagine these guys? I'm telling you. I mean, I don't. Just listen. I'm just saying that if they found a kitty fucking dungeon in Darth Dawkins' house, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just. I'm
Well,
just.
I think he's living in a bus station right now. So, I mean, I really don't. I mean, some of the stuff that I've heard, it's like, I don't know where he's at, but yeah, weird. All right, here we go.
There's rumors that he's homeless. Darth Dawkins.
Well, I mean, there was this thing where a guy came out and claimed he was his brother, and the claims that he made lined up with things that people have known about him, hell, just even from being online. And the guy basically said, yeah, he confirmed some things that people had known, like number of siblings, and that Darth Gary was living with his mom alone. His mom passed away. When the other siblings came in to take care of things after her passing, they found a house that was left in neglect. Like it was in really in disrepair and unclean. And Darth basically took off while in her final days. He was arranging to have her car put in his name, so he like took off with the vehicle. They kicked him out of the house, but then he had the vehicle. Yeah, this is all coming from somebody who claimed to be Darth's brother. And given, I don't know, given some of the stuff that stuff that he had talked about, the lapse in time around about the time that he was with his mom, you could hear his mom over the microphone, and then there was a lapse. He wasn't really available very often. He had mentioned that he was busy with family stuff. There was a family death in the family, a crisis, whatever, and then he disappeared for a few months, and then he came back. And when he came back, it was with much lower quality stuff than before. It always sounded like he was talking through like a drive-through window speaker. So yeah, something happened, and from the person that like made these claims did it on a Reddit thread that I think Tom Rabbit and somebody else have had up for years about Darth. And there was something on there. They don't really go to, like Tom had even mentioned, he's like, I don't even really check that thread. There's not that much activity on it. This guy jumped in there, was like, oh, by the way, I'm his brother, and just starts like spilling tea.
Dude, does Darth Dawkins just not realize that if he just started his own YouTube channel and just started monetizing the videos, that he would make a fucking fortune? Like, does he not realize that?
He can't.
Huh?
He tried, according to people that I know, he did before. He did around the Google Plus Hangout days or before, and he'd always get pulled because he can't control himself and shift into hate preacher mode, and that got him yanked. If he tried to like do stuff on his own, he'd end up ranting and raving about like LGBTQ stuff, and it's only inevitable before that gets you pulled.
Yeah, I mean,
have his views.
I'm always worried. I'm not putting anti-LGBT views or anything, but like I always worry that my channel is just, you're gonna wake up one day, folks, and there's gonna be no videos there because it's gonna get pulled for content, because it's got some wild content on my channel over the years, and half it's not even me; it's just other people saying wild stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if he ever went as like blatantly like crazy as like Mr. Batman, where he's advocating for just horrific measures that the government should do. But it was bad enough that like, so anytime somebody's like, I mean, I wondered it for years, like, man, why doesn't this guy just do a YouTube channel? Because he could probably he could really attract a lot of attention. But this is why I think like parts of Darth are not like he's not the Poe that like some of the other like.
No, I don't think he's a Poe.
Yeah. Like he can't control himself. And he won't edit himself. He'll come right out there and be like, no, I'm going to say this. And then he'll say like just blatantly offensive things about lots of different groups. And yeah, it's only a matter
He's
of
a blatant narcissist. Yeah, I mean, he's a class A narcissist. And like, what was I going to say? I think ironically, he's going to reap what he sows. Right. And I think that, but I think when people talk about the Poe part, I think it's just him being him at a further, like, it's kind of like, when he's just being more rambunctious for entertainment sometimes, but that's still him, right? It's like, hey, he may melodramatic it up because he realizes his little worshipers get a kick out of it. But it's just, doing it more for more laughs, more things. I don't understand. Another thing he could do to be smart, I mean, he could literally just do something private at this point with the amount of dumb followers that he has. Like, you charge all these saps $10 a freaking week to freaking sit in a room with him on what do you call it? What's that? Patreon or something. And just agree to meet with people, and these idiots would probably pay to get to hear Darth demean them for an hour, or just listen to him own atheists.
Well, that's why I don't think he's sophisticated enough to figure this out.
No, yeah.
I mean, there's ways that he could do this, but I think, and the reason that he's not doing it, I think, largely is because he doesn't want to be known. He doesn't want to get popular. Like this is about a psychological supply for him. So if he's in places like Discord and stuff, he gets the feedback that he wants. He doesn't want notoriety.
I wish I would have started as a fake Christian. I just wish I would have mimicked what Darth Dawkins did, right? And just got really rich. I'm sorry, I know this sounds very morally shameless, right? But listen, a man's got needs, and I would like some more money. I like the money I have, but I'd like some more money, and that would buy a lot of fun and freedom for me. And I wish one time I was really baked, and I was talking to a friend, and I was almost scheming about creating a religion, and then I was like, as I'm doing this, I'm like, wait a minute. Am I talking about creating a religion and duping people to make money? I was like, this is so awful. Time to put the weed down. And I put the weed down at that moment. Like, because in my head, I'm not thinking about it. The only other idea that I had that was brilliant, and I'm sorry, you can go back to the video, but I want to tell you my brilliant idea, right? So I had this brilliant idea of how to get around prostitution laws in the United States. And it was basically, you could take these like boat cruises and you could pay to be in an adult film. right? So like you're not paying for prostitution, you're paying to be in an adult film, and then you get a copy of the video for yourself, right? So the film agency hires the actresses or the actors, if it's women need love too, right? It's all on a boat on international waters, right? Everything's legal, no prostitution. You're just paying to be in a film to work with certain actresses. Seems fair.
I gotta think somebody already does this, right?
Right? It's that genius, right? Jeff said,
Yeah.
maybe this should be our business, right? I know.
I'm not to a point where I think I can get involved in porn.
Listen, we don't have to do it. Like, we don't have to be the actors in it. Like, we just got to be the producers. We're gonna be like, okay, listen, guys.
But wasn't the guy that was doing the remember the old what were those called, the wild girls?
Oh, Girls Gone Wild back
Girls
in
Gone.
the day.
Wasn't
Yeah.
he was trying to do stuff? I think that's what got him. What broke him down was that he was trying to do something similar to that, but because they were, I can't remember what the allegations were.
It was real shady. So he was kind of like, it was a little different because what he was doing is he would get like these 18-year-old girls, right? And then he would provide them as much alcohol as they could drink, get them a hotel room,
Yeah.
and just, it's like, then have them sign contracts before you saying they could use anything that they filmed. So I mean, it's basically they set these girls up to fail. It wasn't like a paid prostitute or something. Yeah.
He was trying to legalize the delinquency of a minor kind of thing.
Basically, yeah, it's like a manipulative thing to get these young girls to do what he wants by. But I mean, it'd be one. But I think it's a whole nother thing if you have like consenting adults who want to do something. That it's a different ball game. But I don't know. It seems genius to me, bro. But
I can't. Yeah, I'm thinking like in terms of the way laws, especially in some states, this has got to be a thing already. But maybe it's not. I don't know. You may have stumbled on an angle that others have not. So
I feel like California, you could do something like this. Like I feel like this would be a great thing for a California with the laws, because I'm thinking a lot of porn gets made there, anyways.
Well, you got the Valley. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's where they do it. And I'm thinking like, okay, it's just drive out to the coast, because they're more inland. Drive out to the coast, charter a boat, go out, do this. Yeah.
Well, it's wild ideas from Skylar. I'm not saying that I like condone anything here. I'm just saying that like that I just want money, and if I want more money, this could be a way I could make it.
Yeah. Note to the viewers of this channel: the thoughts expressed by my guests do not reflect.
Yeah. You probably should say that these days.
Disclaimer.
People are worried now. I think I pissed off a lot of people.
Skylar's weed-based inspirations are not reflective of
the. I don't know why people get so serious about me too. Sometimes do they not know me after years of doing my show? Like I get like, dude, I perfectly like say things in exaggerated ways for fun, right? Now it doesn't mean I'm not a dick. Sometimes I'm obviously an asshole, and there are days that I have good days and bad days, and there are days that when I'm not in a fucking good mood and something triggers me and maybe I'm an asshole. Like I was an asshole to what's her name? Stephanie that came on the channel. Like I was just an asshole to her. It wasn't because like she was trans or anything like that or any of her views. Like she just kind of like pissed me off and I was an asshole to her. And that was it. There's no justification for it, right? But I'm not like malicious with people. Like, I don't know. Sorry.
All right, here we go.
Sorry.
3 words in. He doesn't want to hear the rebuttal because he knows what I'm about to say.
No, you are being you're lying. That's saying I asked a Malform question. Then when I asked you,
you would let me finish.
Goodbye. Okay.
Bye.
Listen,
bye. Don't cut me off next time, and we can have a chat.
You're a God-hating fool.
Yeah, don't cut me off next time, and we can have an adult.
No, you can't.
Okay, I just banned his little ass. Do you see what he did?
You see?
Yep.
Did you see what he did? He was coming right for me. You all saw it, right? Clean shoot.
Is that K-San guy, the guy who's a cat picture? That person is so annoying. I've been engaged with that person a couple of times recently.
He is this when he wants like a cookie from Darth so bad here.
Yes, he's like, oh my lord, like he's like, listen, you're gonna get modded. I don't have the power to mod, but I'm just letting you know you're gonna get modded. And I'm like, okay, all right, dude.
I ask him, what is the rational basis for you saying that your belief that God does not exist is rational. That is not a malformed question.
Yeah, he goes, that's a malformed question. What?
This is one of the little strategeries that they pull out of their American atheist canvas tote bag when somebody asks a legitimate question that they either don't know how to answer or don't want to answer. So they'll just say, well, that's a malformed question. Or they'll say, that's a loaded question. Or that's not relevant. See, whenever you ask questions of clarification that will pin them down and they don't want to be honest, then they start accusing you, or they just start being unruly or obnoxious. And
I just want to point out at this point, because he's going to say this towards the end here, because the real thing is, like, look, you're starting at the wrong point, Darth, and this is an issue that a lot of apologists run into. The reason that Daily Shadow is bringing this up is because you're starting from a position where, hey, the God of the Bible has already been established and everybody knows he's real. Now you provide me some kind of rationale, you crazy person, as to why that thing is fake. And it's like, okay, you understand what you're doing here. You're basically setting up a scenario in which you think that there has been an establishment of the God you claim to be, in existence, and that's a very controversial thing to say. Darth doesn't think it's controversial because he just thinks that everyone should know about the presuppositional apologetic, and then from that it can just be derived that, well, if there's a God and people know about him and people know about God, and therefore there is a God. It's completely childish, and he's actually going to use that as like his justification. So, like, okay, that establishes me now, smart guy Daily Shadow. You give me a rationale for why that's not the case. Easy. You're affirming the consequent. That's a bullshit fallacy right there. So you fix that, and then come back at me, and we'll talk.
I like now when they ask me how I know something, I just say my brain. Is what I tell them now, because it's true. Like, and then if they really want to know something deeper, I'm going to force them to have to actually ask the deeper question instead of asking sub-level questions and then having to go, but what about this? But what about this? How do you know? It's like,
You know what you ought to do?
yeah.
You ought to say, like, for the questions you got, do a little Googling of some Bible verses, and when they ask you how you know about a particular thing, tell them you know about it because of the Bible.
Well,
That'll really curl their toes, because they'll be like, wait a minute, you don't believe in the Christian God. Like, no, but you and I believe in hold one thing in common. We believe in this book. And from this book, I can ground certain things that you can't deny. So that's how I know this.
so what I tell them now. So this is what I do because of the God belief. I tell them the same thing they believe. So I'm like, listen, my God can let me know something in a way that I can be for certain. That's it. That's exactly then. If they're like, wait a minute.
But isn't that when you get the how do you know it's not
exactly
imagination, Tyler?
Well, but the irony, and you see the irony here, is right.
Right.
They're in the same boat.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
So that's what I'm forcing them to do. I'm getting them to recognize, listen, if you're going to complain about my position because how do I know this? Well, I guess we need to examine your position too, because we're both saying we know the same thing through different gods.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Exactly the same.
And do death by mod.
Death.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, he got it. Death by mod. You see what a piece of trash this guy is.
Yeah, that was this is my first time in this room, and that guy was in here like, oh yeah, Darth Dawkins isn't here. Like when I'm here, he's not here because he can't defend the Christian God. And then some guy asked him for it, and he started giving the argument, and then you joined, and then he started crying.
Cool Man is 15, right? I think this can be safely. Cool Man is like 15 or 16 years old.
I'm thinking about the name. Who the fuck names himself Cool Man?
A 15-year-old does. Yeah. With a picture of all the fucking things too. I think that's Jake Gyllenhaal's character from Nightcrawler. The guy that's a fucking scumbag. I love that movie. But I'm pretty sure his avatar is that character. And if you've never seen Nightcrawler, fucking watch it. It's good.
Did you go see The Creator yet?
No, not yet.
No, me either. I'm kind of like thinking about doing it tomorrow. You're thinking about it. I want to see. I've heard it's mixed. I've heard mixed things, but I heard it's good. I also heard that this Saul is the best Saul of all the films that have come out. Have you heard that?
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. I only watch. It's almost like a pact now. It's a covenant, and we'll get back into the video as soon as I
Sorry, yeah.
finish this
Sorry,
damn.
guys. This is what I do to the show with Jefferson.
I have never liked the Saw movies, and the reason for it is I had a bad experience in an English class of all places, where the teacher, he was a TA, and he puts out a suggestion for like movies that we can watch to discuss for this English class, and some kid suggests the first Saw movie, and I'm like, for an English class, I'm like, and the next week the TA brings it, and we
Are
start,
you
and I'm
fucking
like, you
serious?
can't watch. I'm like, dude. And he starts watching. He's like, okay. And we get halfway through it, and he's like, okay, maybe I need to turn this off. And I'm like, did you check with anyone about this? He wasn't from America. He just didn't know. And
Is
he's
this
like, no.
college or high school you're talking about?
College,
College.
my college, yeah, a Big Ten school, like a major
Wow.
university. And this guy's like playing this in the class. I'm like, you cannot, no, dude, don't. So he plays the thing, and then I'm like, oh my god. And I go back home to my family. My younger brother is a huge horror movie fanatic.
Yeah.
And so for years, we've been watching these movies. And every time we watch them, what normally happens is it comes out on video. My brother buys it, sight unseen. He doesn't care. He owns all the Saw movies. And then he's like, I've got it. We're watching it. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to get through this? And he's like, I got you some beer, or I got you a bottle of wine. Here we go. And so we'll watch it. And then I will, like, halfway through my drinks, start ranting about the movie. And that's what he enjoys. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, at least the first three movies, I couldn't get through them without just ranting and raging about no, mostly the dialogue. The dialogue in all the movies just kills me. Like the plots and some of the tricks and stuff. Okay, they're kind of, they're crazy. But yeah, this new one coming out, I either have to watch it in the theater with my younger brother, or I have to do a video on demand thing to watch it with him somehow, because he's just like, look, here's the thing, you're not watching that thing without me. I'm
Yeah,
like,
if you're gonna watch it, you gotta watch it. So my thing is, the first original one was an independent film, right? And they actually, before it got sent to theaters, they added, like some of it's got, well, what's his name? The dude from Lethal Weapon in it.
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover's in the movie, right? He wasn't in the original movie, right? So the stuff with the bigger stars came in after they got this like basic idea. The basic idea was the guy locked up in a room wakes up. Like that was the general idea, but they actually added that whole backstory of the police trying to find him and stuff to the movie after it got some like good press or got some good attention, I guess, and for budget.
That makes sense, yeah.
But most of them are awful. The only one that was a really fun one was an episode where he kidnapped like people from health insurance companies that denied people health insurance claims, and they end up dying or suffering. So he basically puts all those people through torture. And I'm like, oh my god, this is a fucking fun plot. Because at the time, I was like so pissed off at an insurance company for denying my wife's health care at the time, my ex-wife's, and I'm like, fuck these insurance people. Let me watch Saw.
So when it comes to something like that, like and like it was the first. Okay, let's talk about this afterward, because you and I.
I'm sorry. Okay,
we're
sorry. We're doing a show here. We got.
No. Maya's right. She's like, she's just gonna be like, these guys could go on for another 90 minutes on this. Probably could.
It's true.
Let's finish this video.
Yeah, he was saying that you were scared of him. So I asked him, "Oh, well, what defeater do you have for God?"
Well, you see what a pathological liar this guy is? This is the first time in your room. Did I not bend over backwards with this piece of garbage, being patient with him?
Bend over backwards, gross.
Yes. Yeah, he keep crying, "Oh, you're going to mute me, you're going to mute me." You only muted him one time, and that was 2 minutes.
Sit there and say, I didn't mute him at all.
Oh, yeah, he banned him, yeah, whatever. You were talking over
I banned
15
him.
minutes, there was no mute.
No, because he was machine gunning being an obstructionist.
It's like, it's so funny. Like Darth just has to argue with anybody.
Right.
This motherfucker once argued his mic was going out. His mic was literally going out with me and Praise I Am. And I'm like, dude, your something's cutting out. You're not hearing me. And he's like, no, it's not my microphone. And I'm like, we find out a minute later it's his microphone. I'm like, not an ounce of humility can this fucking man ever back down from anything that he says.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he wouldn't stop. And I kept on warning him to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Suicide.
Why are you persisting?
Suicide by cop. He's tried it. As soon as you joined, he tried to do suicide by cop.
Yeah. So he says the Christian God doesn't
The fact that Cool Man sounds like he's got a little bit of a little action going on in his pants when he says suicide by cop is telling.
exist, because if the Christian God exists, then I would know it. I don't know it, so the Christian God doesn't exist. Okay, well, fine. Defend
Here we go.
that you don't know God.
Yeah, that was also a really disappointing argument. He was making it out
What a
to be like he
terrible
had a really
argument.
good one.
Well, this is the Tom Rabbit school of atheist apologetics.
No, it's not. He's just making that up because he knows this is going to end up on Tom Rabbit's
That's
channel.
exactly right.
So I like how he's crediting Tom Rabbit with all of these like different, like counter apologetic moves and stuff. Like no one else has brought this stuff up to Darth before, back in the old Google Hangout days, like when he was trying to get these arguments online and get them worked out completely.
Mhm.
Jesus.
So explain to me that you don't know God.
Explain to me that you don't know God. What a fucking dumb thing to say.
Be
Jesus
like,
Christ.
listen, Darth, I don't know God.
I don't know him.
I don't know how to explain it to you. I
Like in the way
lack the awareness or the knowing of him.
Yeah. Does he require this explanation for something more mundane? Like, explain to me that you don't know Wayne Newton. It's simple. I've never met Wayne Newton. Fuck off, man. I mean, Jesus Christ.
What if I said, if it is the case
Here it
that
is.
the Christian God exists, then I would believe that God exists. I believe God exists, therefore the Christian God exists.
If P, then Q, Q, therefore P equals affirming the consequent. Fallacious, yes. Yes. This is the heart of all of his arguments. Like, if there's a God, because it doesn't matter how he ends up changing it, he almost always fucks this up. Like,
I mean, look what I could do with this. If Raptor Jesus exists, then I would believe that Raptor Jesus exists. Yep, I would do. That's true. I believe Raptor Jesus exists. The Raptor Jesus God exists. Conclusion. Like,
right.
so
I mean, if you tried to like rephrase this as like, if you believe that a God exists, then a God exists. You believe a God exists,
Yes!
therefore a God exists. It's like, that's not affirming the consequent, but it's still fucking stupid.
Exactly. You're 100% right. If you think about it, just remove the word Christian, just leave God. It's so funny. Fuck.
You just want to flip it so that it's because he's doing like, if the Christian God exists, A, then I would believe it, B, and then he goes to B, I believe it, and then therefore A. It's like A, B, B, A is affirming the consequent. But if you want to make sure that you flip it around, it's still just trivial. It's just like, well, if I believe in a God, then a God must be real. I believe in a God, therefore God is real. A, B, A, then B. That's modus ponens. Valid, but bullshit.
Not sound. Exactly. Exactly.
It's just not.
I don't know if the not sound would be the word, but it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be the answer to it. Oh,
it's just not valid. I mean, it's a valid argument, but it's not. It's not true. So, it's not sound.
Someone says they saw Saul X and it was really good in the comments. I'm
Yukio,
good.
Yukio Kami. Okay.
All right. Good. I'm feeling good about that. All right.
All right.
Not should I eat magic mushrooms and go see them? Like, is it that kind of good, or would I? That wouldn't be a good idea. What am I thinking?
What you need, if you've got mushrooms, you need to take your mushrooms and watch Mandy.
Oh, I don't know. That's the Nicolas Cage movie, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've heard it's really good. I haven't seen it.
It's fucking great. It's nuts though, man. It's weird. I mean, it's already kind of psychedelic and an acid trip on its own. And I did read an article from some people like, "Hey, we dropped acid and watched Mandy. Don't do that."
Yeah, it's just I'm thinking about it a little bit more. I'm like, no, I don't want to be nervous or worried about something watching. Like, I want to feel good and happy and
there's some disturbing shit in it too. Like it can kind of like, it's not like super gory or anything, but there's just stuff in there that will probably bother you in one way or another.
Weirder than Barbarian? Did you see Barbarian?
Mandy's much weirder than Barbarian.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What do you think he's going to say? He would say, well, he would say, rationally defend that you have rational grounds to believe in God. Right? All I'm doing is I'm taking the question that I asked him and I'm putting it in the reverse. I'm using his argument in the reverse. Okay.
No,
He
you're just affirming the consequent. You're not taking his argument and using it in the reverse. You're demanding, like, how do you know there isn't a God? And if it's based on the goofy ass affirming the consequent thing you just put out there, like, are you really serious? Like, oh, there's a
Yeah.
God, you can know him. You know him, therefore he's real. Like, what the fuck? Like, no, that's not that's not how anything works.
look. At times, it's appropriate to say that somebody asks a malformed question. Okay, but the people like that scumbag who I've dealt with him in the past, this is one of their little semantic tricks that if they don't want to answer something, well, that's a malformed question or that's not relative. And then they start to overtalk and then they start to go into bickering mode. This is what dishonest pieces of shit these people are. And you'll excuse my language, but this is how we have to describe these. This is how vile these people are.
But they're denying something undeniable. How is that even possible? God is revealed. God has necessarily revealed himself in an undeniable way, and yet atheists are defined as those who would deny the existence of God. That's a contradiction. No one should be capable of denying an undeniable revelation. So I really want Darth to explain that to me. He never will because he won't talk to me. But maybe you can get him to, Skylar. You can ask him about
Yeah,
this.
well, yeah. Good luck. I'll try.
Yeah, if you could ever get this far. Yeah.
I'll try.
I did not ask a malformed question. I was bending over backwards trying to be patient with him, and he kept on being rude, obnoxious, accusatory. He kept on interrupting me. He was not trying to go the high ground and be a mature person.
Why would he? Why would
I've got a technical question. I don't know if you can answer this. How does Tom do this thing where he can have their voices come up with their pictures? Like, how is he taking that from Discord? Is he editing that video to do that? Like, I don't understand how he does this to where Discord matches this background. I guess is what I'm asking.
I don't know. Yeah,
interesting.
I don't know how he does, because I mean he's got like he's got the feed going, but then he's got stuff animated. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, you could see the feed live on like with an image in the background, which I haven't figured out how to do yet because it would look prettier. It looks way prettier to watch people do this than it does just to have a big screen where everybody's on Discord. You see everybody's.
I mean, people are always surprised, like, well, why do you do all your stuff live? Wouldn't it be easier to like write a script and record it? I'm like, if I knew anything about editing, but I don't know anything about editing. Like, I can't edit for shit.
Not worth the time, my man. It's not worth the time. Like, honestly, you can create better content what you do now. Just jump on here and talk to people and engage. That's it. I hate it. I work, dude. You know how many times I've worked on videos for hours, then nobody fucking watched them. Like, then I come on here and I would talk about G-Man for 5 minutes, and it's like, oh yeah, everyone's watching. It's like 10-hour worth of work video. Nope.
I'm always surprised by something, because there's some people that I follow that are like, video essayists, and they'll put these things together. They'll have like a 1300, how 1300 shooting script or something like this. Like, it's insane. They put together a shooting script, they edit all this stuff, and they'll end up with like an hour and 40 minutes or 2 hours of edited content. And I'm like, holy fuck, how long did you work on that? And then when I talk to somebody and they're just like, so do you prep this stuff in advance? Like, no, mostly completely off the cuff. And they're just like, well, it's pretty impressive that you can string this stuff together and not completely make a mess of it. And I'm like, yeah, it's sort of necessity, because I can't do this any other way, because I'm too stupid to learn editing software.
Well, it's honestly a good, to tell you the truth, it's a good skill, because doing the same thing on my channel, like where you're just ranting to people and talking to people for an hour and engaging with content, like you learn, it's like the art of communication. The fact that you can do this like a radio show for an hour and a half, 2 hours straight by yourself, which is engaging, it's a skill that has to be learned. And honestly, the way I look at it now with whatever you're covering, whatever person's covering, like content like this, is a lot of people just like to listen. Like most people, it seems like, aren't necessarily here. I think, okay, so what I'm saying is those people that work on content where they're editing videos for hours, I think it's a different type of customer, or a different type of fan in a sense, right? Because people who come to listen to religious debate or politics debate, it's not necessary. We don't need the visuals.
Yeah.
right? You just need to hear it. I think a lot of people are working. So I think it's like, depending on what audience you want, like someone like Inspiring Philosophy, he's got a much wider audience because they're all Christian. And those Christians aren't just wanting, like, they're not just working and wanting to listen necessarily to some podcast or something going on. Like, they're like a good educational video that they could, ooh, that looks pretty, that they could, that they could, I don't know, sink into and see him and watch the visuals, whatever.
Yeah, right.
Anyways.
Yeah, that's been kind of. Oh, I did want to point this out since I'm wrapping that video up. That was the closing part of it. The one thing that never comes up often enough. So I brought up, and I think it was before you got in here, Skylar, with the whole thing with the like knowing, right? I pointed out in Thessalonians, and Jay had actually found this out earlier today because we were talking about Second Thessalonians chapter 1, it's verses 7 and 8. I think talks about how God will bring punishment to those that don't obey God and those that don't know Him. Seems like a contradiction if they believe Paul wrote Romans 1 and Second Thessalonians. The best defense they could use would be to cling to critical scholars that are like, yeah, Second Thessalonians probably wasn't written by Paul. It was probably a forgery.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good argument, bro.
But then I think it is, yeah, right here. So in Galatians chapter 4, there, and it's broken up in the ESV. There's sons and heirs, which is the first few verses. Paul's concern for the Galatians starts at verse 8. He writes, formerly, when you did not know God, you were enslaved to those that by nature are not God's. But now that you have come to know God, or rather to be known by God, how can you turn back again to the weak and worthless elementary principles of the world whose slaves you want to be once more? Verses 8 through 9. So you've got Galatians, where Paul is saying that it's possible that people didn't know God, and in Second Thessalonians, if they believe that they're going to hold to the whole. Paul wrote Second Thessalonians. People get sent to hell for not knowing God.
Yeah, it's a pretty good argument there. I'm looking at some of those verses. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So shout out to Jay for finding the Second Thessalonians one. The Galatians one I've brought up before because I think somebody else had found that one too, or maybe my brother and I had been discussing that one. I'd run through it and I was like, wait, Paul says in Galatians that you, because this keeps coming up over and over. Romans 1, everybody knows God. Like, yeah, is that what Paul meant there? I don't think it is, because he turns around and writes this thing in Galatians. So it's he's either contradicting himself, or I think more charitably, what they think he's saying in Romans 1 is not actually what Paul's trying to get across.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's good on Jay to get some of that. That's awesome, you and Jay.
Yeah.
How is Jay? I've said hello to him every once in a while. I haven't get spoken to him. I don't think I've spoken to him in a while.
Oh, he's always lurking. Always lurking. And then he's done a couple weekend shows here and there, but yeah, he doesn't do much, but yeah, every other weekend or so he'll try to fire it up and do a live stream.
Live that good life. Well, it'd be good if we can all talk about movies one day. We'll get on here and talk about we can even talk about some of these movies coming out. You have any big ones you got at your site to come out here?
Excited? Well,
Napoleon, I'm super psyched to see like that.
I'm kind of curious about that one just to see, because Ridley Scott is always kind of a mixed bag for me. Some of his movies I like, some of them I don't like, and some of the movies that people universally hate from him, I actually kind of enjoy. Like I kind of liked Robin Hood with Russell Crowe.
I don't remember it. I don't know. I can't remember.
Everybody fucking hates it, but part of the reason was I had been in Japan for 6 months, and I got back. I flew back. I stopped in Seattle, and I was staying with a friend. And where she lived, I was there for just a few days before I flew back, to Michigan. And while I was there, I was kind of, exploring stuff. There was her apartment complex was part of like a mini plaza and stuff. And there was a small theater chain thing there. And Robin Hood had just come out in theaters. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go watch it, because I hadn't been to see a movie in a theater in 6 months. I've been in Japan. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go watch this. So it was the first movie I saw after being there for half a year. And I was just so happy to be in a big screen, watching a movie that I could understand, without having to read subtitles, for the whole thing, or, get the English translation. So I was just like, oh yeah, this is kind of fun. And I always liked Robin Hood as a kid. I like that period in history. Unfortunately, that is not at all accurate.
Well, and Ridley Scott's Alien, right? He did Alien originally, didn't he? Is that
Oh,
am I
yeah.
thinking of? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and he did Prometheus, and I just love. I'm like he's not necessarily my favorite director, I would say by any means, but like I love the story of Napoleon. I've been when I was in college learning European history. It was just such like the character or the person, the history of Napoleon is so interesting to me. And then with Joaquin Phoenix playing Napoleon, I'm like, oh my god! And they were like Ridley Scott, a serious director. I was like, the trailer looks beautiful. The music looked beautiful in the trailer. Um, but I think the next movie is my son's gonna have me go see Five Nights at Freddy's this month.
JL said Jefferson Spatchcock unsubscribe. I think JL has opposite feelings about. If it makes you feel better, JL, I did try watching Ridley Scott's Robin Hood on like streaming, and I couldn't make it through it. I was like, oh, this isn't good.
I'm gonna give it a try now. Now I want to give it a I want to
It's
give it a go.
it's really long. It is not historically accurate at all, and it's the narrative is fucked up. The thing that really messed me up. There's um the original idea was based on a screenplay called Nottingham. And the way that they did the movie, it's a Robin Hood movie, but Robin Hood was not the central protagonist. The Sheriff of Nottingham was,
Oh,
and it was a procedural. So the guy that wrote it, I guess, was really well versed in that like period of medieval history, and archery, and so these robberies start occurring, and the Sheriff of Nottingham is trying to figure out who's doing them and how they're being done. And they're just these like they were kind of these weird like how are they pulling these heists off. So everything is done from the perspective of Nottingham and his guys in the course of this investigation trying to track down this guy that the people are starting to call Robin Hood, and they don't even know if he's real. So I was like,
oh.
that is a cool idea for a movie, if done right. I thought that was just a really cool narrative idea to do. And then Ridley Scott bought that script and then like had two others in the pipeline from somebody else, cobbled them together, got super obsessed with archery, ditched everything from the Nottingham script, and then gave us what he ended up making. And then it was supposed to be like part one of like two other movies. And then of course that one failed spectacularly and cost an enormous amount of money. So the studio's like, yeah, Ridley, we love you, but we're not letting you do that again. So it's time for you to move on. Go do another Alien movie.
Well,
So
we're certainly going to get another 5 Barbie movies now, which I haven't even watched. I want to watch the movie. I've heard so much about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
and I wanted to, that was Spooky's comment. I didn't get to highlight it, but yes, Spooky had asked, "What did you guys think of that?" So Skylar hasn't seen it. I did go see it. I really liked it. I liked it a lot more. I didn't think I would go in hating it. I'm not a big Greta Gerwig fan or a huge Noah Baumbach fan, but um, generally they're both good writers and good directors. So I thought, let's give it a shot. And yeah, it's good. It's not going to be a movie that I like turn on, for the holidays or something like every year and watch it. But it's a good movie.
I watched the Last of Us series recently.
That's pretty good.
I thought it was good. It wasn't what I necessarily expected, and not necessarily a bad way. You know what? It didn't feel as HBO to me as some of its other HBO series. I don't know if you get what I mean. Like, it seems like sometimes HBO just puts so much effort into a show that it's so like you really kind of buy into the world.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily buy into the world as much as I thought I would with this.
Yeah.
It's still a good story. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, good performances. I mean, I like Pedro Pascal. I'm glad he's kind of getting his like moment to be in like everything. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've seen a streaming show. I don't think I've seen anything on a streaming show that's caught my attention like Andor did. Like that. But I'm biased because I'm a big fan of Tony Gilroy. Any of the Gilroy stuff, with the exception of like, I think Dan Gilroy did that movie Velvet Buzzsaw on Netflix, which I tried watching that and it was bad.
Wow.
But most of their stuff is really good. And Tony Gilroy's been around forever and has written really good screenplays. And that, did you ever watch that show? I don't know.
No, never. Unfortunately, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, if you get a chance, I mean, there's some scenes in there that are like just a fucking masterclass at using dialogue to establish and develop characters. Like it'll just be a conversation between people, but there's very rarely is there a moment where people are having an exchange of dialogue where you're not learning more about them as people, as characters. Like it's fucking great. Like he and his other brother are really good at that. Like they write great dialogue. So
Well, there's good stuff coming out this year. Fallout's supposed to come out. There's supposed to be a Fallout series being launched. That's supposed to be almost done. Or it should be done. They should be in editing at this point.
Loki's out now, season 2 for.
I'll tell you. Here's the truth. This is a dark truth that I'm about to tell you. That I am not a big superhero fan. Right?
Yeah.
If I were to say like my favorite superhero movie of all time is The Watchmen. Like
Okay.
that because to me that's not like other superhero movies. Like it's unique amongst the superhero film genre that exists right now. But I mean, it's not to say that I don't like the movies. Like I just watched The Flash and it was perfectly fine. It was fun, right? Like I enjoyed it more than other DC movies by far. I enjoyed the new Batman movie and things like that, but I don't really care. But I do like fuck, well, you just asked what movie were you asking me about? Fuck, I lost my thought. What you were saying it must have been a comic book movie you asked me
Oh
about.
no, well, I talked about Andor, the show.
Andor. Never mind. Oh, I've been watching. Have you seen the White Lotus show on HBO?
And yeah, I saw a couple episodes of the first season, and I've
Uh-huh.
been meaning to go back and rewatch it because
It's kind of interesting. Like I'm still in the first season. It's kind of weird. Like I think I'm just getting to a point where something's about to happen, like a big point with the woman spreading the ashes and a couple going on a boat. So I
Yeah.
think there's about to be a big thing that happens. And that one's really good. But also, oh, I was gonna say it's like I don't like the I love sports movies, but don't love sports. So like I watched that basketball one on HBO, the Winning Time.
Oh yeah, that
I,
show. Yeah.
oh my god, it was so much fun, but so boring at points also. But moments of greatness because John C. Riley
No,
is
he's
just
great.
one of the best actors out there. Like because he can do anything, comedy, serious, drama. Like he just is the goat when it comes to some of that stuff. So
Yeah, I keep getting this recommendation. JL says watch the series from. I need to watch that. I've heard it's very creepy.
Frob, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go. If you want to keep talking, Scott, I'm gonna
Oh
jump off.
no. Yeah. It's all good, bro. I just want to come by and hang out with you while you're live. I don't get that opportunity, so it was fun. Thank you, bro. Dude, thanks for hanging out with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, JL says the subversive superhero stuff is good. Have you checked out The Boys? Yeah, I
I've
think he's
heard of
asking.
them. I
It's,
haven't. I've heard
it's
some
on.
good jokes about it. What they do.
Yeah, it'd be hard to know if you like Watchmen, you might be more inclined to like The Boys over like other superhero. I
Mhm,
don't. I'm not a big superhero fan.
mhm.
I've come to like the Marvel Cinematic Universe because uh, mostly because it's just like they just consistently release pretty decently entertaining stuff. But I have my criticisms. There's
Yeah.
weaknesses, plenty of weaknesses that you can find. But and I'm not. I never was like. I think when I was younger, I liked Batman.
Yes.
As I've gotten older, it's like the way Batman usually ends up getting done is less interesting. Usually because it's either campy or it's action oriented, and he's not that great a detective. Um,
Yes. 100%, bro. I am so with you on this.
yeah, but
Michael
like
Keaton forever. Sorry.
yeah, the other superheroes, like most of them, like most in the Marvel, like if it hadn't been for like the way they set off the MCU with kind of like Iron Man, like I didn't think that would succeed when I first started. I'm like, they're starting with Iron
Mm.
Man, like who gives a shit? Like I remember the cartoons with like Spider Man and Super Friends and stuff like that. Like like why would you do that? So the fact that they made him kind of interesting, and then he ended up becoming kind of the like the foundation for the entire thing was like, well, that's pretty interesting. But
They
other
lucked
lot,
out. They made it. You know what it was? Is they had a good. It was just perfect, like timing in a sense, because they had John Favreau directing, who's a great director. You got what's his name as the star as Iron Man, Roddy Downey Jr.
yeah,
And it's like, and the movie was good. It was
yeah,
just a good movie. Like it let us know that this can be done in a sense,
yeah,
right?
and
We
I
can
think.
have it back.
Yeah, I think most of it has to be credited to the casting director. Her name's Sarah Hallifin, and now she's like a consulting producer for a lot of their stuff. But she found Hemsworth as Thor. She found, Evans as Captain America. I don't know if she was supportive about getting Robert Downey Jr. in as Iron Man because Favreau was really pulling for him hard.
Yeah,
A lot of people were like, we want somebody like Cruz and something like that. But yeah, her casting, their ability to like cast really good people that just can kind of live in those parts, even if some of them are kind of half baked. Like their biggest weakness was like the Eternals, because those characters aren't characters; they're just sort of like, well, it's kind of sad because it's a movie about space robots, and all of them seem kind of robotic.
Oh my! I haven't even seen. I've heard of the movie. I didn't even watch it.
Yeah, it is not great. But yeah,
All right, my brother.
yeah, good catching up with you, and go see movies, folks. I am gonna check out Loki, because Loki, that first season of Loki is friggin' weird. And so I'm waiting to see how much weirder it's gonna get. So
All right, bro. I love you, man. You guys take it easy, man. Peace.
Yep. See you later. And thanks everybody for showing up. I'm gonna let's see here, remove him there. Thank you for the lively chat, and sorry for the tangents into movies and stuff, but that was going to happen if Skylar was showing up. So I'm going to sign out of here. Let's see. It's awesome. I think my yeah. Nitty, you might be talking. Maybe you're talking about Loki. Did you already watch it? It just came out. Maybe you're talking about season 1. All right, folks. Let me find that layer that I need to play out. Have a good night. I will be back here, hopefully, maybe tomorrow night, to do another show. See you later, folks.